which is very revelatory, as you know, about Meghan and Harry, I got absolutely no help from the palace whatsoever. On the contrary, I think it's mixed. I think that once she saw Meghan when she came to London in 2016, 2018, and she reached out to Victoria to get freebies. And I must say, it's always beyond Meghan. Meghan doesn't believe in reconciliation. Look at her appalling relationship with her father. She's a hard nut. Meghan left Britain and then the Oprah Winfrey interview has been really poisonous.
Mm-hmm. Well, he does it because he needs a profile. That's the only way they can get money, by showing the profile. And for Netflix, everything is built around the future documentary series to promote the Sussexes.
Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Why Meghan?
Well, because she poses a challenge to the royal family, and she's a fascinating person. I mean, she's a person who started from nothing and has become a world global star. And that route to the top has never really been properly reported and examined and investigated. In the trailer, there had 27,000 comments. 95% of them were negative. So they already knew there was a problem of the image. There was also the Vanity Fair article, which is, American Hustle was a huge blow.
We love it. We love to see it.
To Meghan. So it was opportune. And of course, by then she also knew that her brand was in great trouble. Meghan had already recorded their poison for Netflix. It was already edited. All the stuff that we heard today about Charles lying, about William screaming and shouting, was in the can, was being edited.
Tom Bower, where he doesn't go there. He doesn't go there. But he does go there as far as the fact that they wanted to keep the birth private and all the secrecy around that, and even the fact that
Meghan Markle and Tom Bower. Say those names together and suddenly everything sharpens. You know something's about to get heated. Meghan and Harry, they've been no strangers to lawsuits. Oh no, not at all. They've gone after the press, photographers, publishers, and the lawsuits. They've been their weapon of choice. So when Tom Bower released his explosive book Revenge, everyone was waiting for the firestorm. Everyone was expecting Meghan to hit back with legal action, right? But guess what? It didn't happen. There was no lawsuit, no injunction, just cryptic warnings, anonymous whispers about possible legal options. That silence, it speaks volumes. Bower didn't just toss insults at Meghan. No, darling. He carefully documented patterns of behavior. He exposed a side of Meghan that's way beyond what tabloids care to reveal. We're talking about control, power plays. This wasn't about spreading rumors. This was about cold, hard evidence. And guess what? Evidence doesn't fade away in the face of outrage. When you've got hard facts, you can't just scream your way out of them. And you know what? Here's the thing most people miss. Meghan could have sued, but she didn't. Why? Because Bower's case wasn't built on hearsay. Oh no, Bower didn't just throw random claims around. He built his case on corroborated behavior. Corroborated. That means many different people, from royal staff to former friends to industry insiders, all saying the same things about Meghan without ever coordinating with each other. Different voices from different places over different periods of time describing the same patterns. And those patterns, they were predictable. Charm at first, use your power for your own benefit, and then boom, cut everyone off once they no longer serve your needs. That's Meghan's style according to the accounts.
And she reached out to Victoria to get freebies. Victoria was happy to see her clothes on Meghan. Very good looking woman, a duchess. Whatever Meghan was wearing would be an instant sellout. But Meghan had her own way of dealing with people who were trying to use her. She wanted not only freebies, but wanted some sort of payment too, which wasn't allowed under the rules of the royal palace. So that stung Meghan. I think Meghan then got worried, as I tell in the book.
Patterns don't need motive, they just need repetition. That's where Bower struck. And the more he uncovered, the more he proved Meghan's behavior was consistent, deliberate, and calculated. Oh, and don't forget the control. Meghan isn't just about fame or ambition. Oh no, honey, she's about control. Who speaks, who doesn't, who gets cut off, and who disappears. That's the game Meghan plays, and she plays it well. Several sources, real sources, not just random whispers, admitted that they were afraid to speak out, afraid of the legal consequences, afraid of what Meghan could do if they crossed her. Now that's telling, right?
These are words which he has rehearsed and which he's delivering to make a point, to make his own fortune. And of course, the casualty is not only the royal family, but Britain's reputation too, across the world. It is really quite tragic that he's been allowed and encouraged to make these sort of allegations, which has no evidence. And of course, full of contradictions, dishonest.
Let's be real for a second. Bauer didn't paint Meghan as a helpless victim. Not at all. No. He portrayed her as someone who knows exactly what she's doing. She's strategic, highly intentional about her brand, status, and control. This is where things start to shift. In court, this would be a nightmare for Meghan. Suing Bauer wouldn't just be about saying, hey, you're lying. No, darling. It would mean explaining why so many unrelated people have described her the same way. She would have to explain why all those relationships ended the same way, why people keep calling her controlling, why the legal threats always follow the same pattern.
Oh, on the contrary, I think she's a very scheming, very clever woman. No, I think the surprising thing at the end of the book, I realized how successful she'd been. Here was a woman who was nothing. I mean, born, broken family, the whole thing, an unknown actress, all the rest of it, becomes a global star, which is what she wanted.
And here's the uncomfortable truth. A lawsuit wouldn't silence Bauer. It would amplify everything he's already said. Meghan's legal team could demand names, and trust me, the risk would be massive. Once the sources are out there, they could be called to testify, and when that happens, Meghan's dirty laundry, it's not just aired, it's put under a microscope. In a courtroom, Meghan's records, texts, emails, contracts could all be fair game. Once discovery happens, the veil of control is gone. And Bauer, he has done his homework. He doesn't just rely on one source or one claim. He layers his facts, building a case that's practically impossible to shake. So what happens if Meghan decides to file that lawsuit against Tom Bauer? Well, let's just say it would open doors she's been carefully keeping shut for years. One of the most dangerous things about Bauer's book is that it's not just based on rumors. It's based on structure. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that when pieced together reveals a bigger, darker picture. And the most uncomfortable part, this isn't just about what Bauer claimed, this is about what he didn't say. There's more out there, locked away for legal timing. Sources that are too afraid to go on record, but willing to confirm everything in private. The truth, it's out there, waiting. Now imagine this, a lawsuit. Meghan has to walk into that courtroom and defend herself, not against tabloid drama, not against public opinion, but against hard, verifiable facts. And let me tell you, Bauer's got those facts. Emails, messages, third-party confirmations, everything lines up. Meghan's own past could come into play. Imagine her PR team, her contracts, her communications with lawyers, all of it suddenly on display for the world to see. The moment discovery begins, Meghan loses control. It's not just about what people think of her, it's about what can be proven. And in court, truth doesn't come from emotions or defense, it comes from facts. And that's the part Meghan can't afford. You see, people think that suing Tom Bauer would shut him down. But the truth, it would only make things worse. If she files, it triggers discovery. Suddenly, Bauer's sources who feared retaliation for speaking out, become a huge problem. The people who once kept their mouths shut, they would have to decide whether to testify under oath, whether to confirm everything Bauer has been saying. That's the worst nightmare for Meghan. But it gets even worse. Even if Meghan wins a defamation case, something that would be incredibly difficult, it still doesn't mean she walks away unscathed. The process alone, the testimonies, the legal battles would expose far more than she's comfortable with. Bauer's book didn't just accuse her of being manipulative, it accused her of being strategic, using power as a tool, controlling narratives, and leveraging her status. That's not something a defamation lawsuit can easily erase. And then, the biggest twist in this story, the longer Meghan delays this lawsuit, the more it looks like she's avoiding the inevitable. A defamation case is supposed to protect your reputation, but if Meghan never files, it's like she's admitting that Bauer's book was spot on. The longer the silence stretches, the more her camp looks desperate to maintain control, not just of the narrative, but of the situation itself. This is the heart of the problem. Meghan isn't just facing a battle against a single book, she's facing a battle against years of carefully constructed public relations and media manipulation. She can't just walk into a courtroom and argue emotions or damage, she has to argue facts, and those facts have been documented. Bauer is not playing by the rules of sensational gossip, he's playing by the rules of evidence. That's why this isn't just about a lawsuit anymore. It's about the story Meghan's been telling the world, one that's now being questioned. Meghan's lawyers know this. They understand the stakes. And that's why they keep hinting at legal action but never actually take it. Because once the lawsuit is filed, the spotlight shifts from Meghan's control to the courtroom. And once that happens, she's no longer calling the shots. A defamation lawsuit isn't just about protecting your reputation, it's about controlling the narrative. And in this case, the narrative is out of Meghan's hands. And then there's the final bombshell. The moment Meghan steps into court, the doors open to everything. Her past relationships, her fallouts with staff, her strategic manipulation of the royal spotlight, all of it could come crashing down. Witnesses could step forward. Former friends, colleagues, royal aides, they could be forced to testify under oath, revealing even more secrets. Secrets that Meghan can't control anymore. The damage could be far worse than anything Bauer exposed in his book. Let's be clear here, Meghan's camp isn't stupid. They understand the risk. They know that the longer they avoid this lawsuit, the more it looks like they're hiding something. And that's the problem. Once the threat of legal action is on the table, it's no longer about controlling the story, it's about protecting a narrative that's becoming increasingly difficult to defend. Meghan can threaten, she can let the media talk about possible lawsuits, but she can't afford to actually file, because if she does, she loses control over everything. So the strategy shifts. Instead of suing, Meghan's camp focuses on discrediting Bauer. They question his motives. They talk about misinformation. They imply that he's wrong, that he's the one spreading lies. But the problem? The more they push this narrative, the more they're confirming Bauer's most damning claim, that Meghan controls the media, manipulates the public, and does whatever it takes to keep her narrative in line. And that, in the end, might be the most dangerous thing of all. Bauer's success isn't about sensationalism, it's about the truth he's exposed, the patterns he's documented. Meghan, she's learned the hard way that you can't control everything, especially when the truth is out there. And as long as Bauer keeps talking, that truth, it won't be forgotten. Not by the media, not by the public, and certainly not by Meghan. And so here we are, watching Meghan's every move with a close eye, especially when it comes to the one thing she can't control, Tom Bauer's relentless documentation. Meghan's strategy for years has been about managing how the world sees her, her image, her narrative, her carefully crafted persona. But Bauer's work? It's not just about what's being said, it's about what can be verified, cross-referenced, and proven. Meghan's carefully curated public life is under scrutiny, and she can't erase the reality of it all. If you think about it, this whole saga isn't really about Meghan being a victim or an innocent soul lost in the world of fame. No, darling. This is about Meghan as a strategist. Bauer's biggest threat to her isn't sensational accusations, it's that he has portrayed her as a woman who knows exactly what she's doing, who makes calculated moves to build and protect her brand. Bauer doesn't paint Meghan as a helpless princess, he paints her as a woman who operates with ruthless intent, one who uses fame, power, and influence not just to survive, but to dominate. This is where the stakes get higher. Meghan could sue, sure, but if she does, everything comes into play. She's no longer the one controlling the narrative. In court, every word she says would be questioned. Every record, every email, every single communication with people close to her, friends, staff, allies, would be examined. And not just by Bauer's lawyers. No. They would be up against Meghan's own documents, her own timeline of events. Once those things come to light, the world would see them for what they are. A testament to how calculated, how strategic, and how controlled everything was. And that's why Meghan hasn't filed. Because once she does, there's no turning back. She can't pick and choose which parts of her story come out. A lawsuit would only force her to answer uncomfortable questions that she's been dodging for years. And the truth? It wouldn't just stay in Bauer's book. It would spill into the courtroom. The public would finally get to see all the details, the ones Meghan's been so careful to keep under wraps. But here's the kicker. If Meghan sues, she risks opening Pandora's box. The truth, the real truth, would be exposed. There's no escaping that. Because as long as Bauer's story stands, so does the lingering question that looms over Meghan's carefully constructed empire. Why hasn't she sued him yet? Why hasn't she sued him yet? Why hasn't she sued him yet?